Hi there, beautiful creatures, welcome back. Today I am in my pajamas and I have just washed my hair and my face is barefaced, so I have no eyebrows except for the ones that are growing back. And I decided it would be the perfect time to do a review for you guys. So I talked about this in my other video, that I wanted to review the Oracle of the Mermaids by Lucy Cavendish and artwork by Selina Fenech. And so here it is. So first off, I'm going to start with the logistics. So the guidebook is 128 pages. 168 pages. So pretty decent. I really like the messages that Lucy has in this guidebook, and she has a couple of different spreads. I'll share with you guys my favorite spread from here is the Cycles of the Moon spread. And you do this one. It's pretty potent if you do this one starting the new moon and you follow it through to the next new moon, and it's a 5-card spread. So it comes in this, classic sturdy Blue Angel box. It is published by Blue Angel Publishing and it has a light blue on the inside. So there are 45 cards in the deck, and there's a mixture of artwork from Selina Fenech's more new artwork, which is a bit more digital, to some of her older artwork. Moon 513 does go into this a little bit on her review, and if you want to watch that one, I'll link it down below, but I'll just show you an example. So this is the sort of old artwork. As you can see, the colour, it's done in watercolours, I think. And this is an example of some of her new artwork. So there's a bit of a mixture there, but I don't find it too confronting or sort of jarring when you're reading with this deck. And these are the card backings. Mostly because I tended to pull, apart from the 5-card spread, I did usually just daily draws. And I will tell you, in my experience with connecting with this deck has been really difficult. It's been difficult until I actually made a conscious choice to do a ritual and connect with the mermaids. So I was going to talk a little bit about connecting with mermaid energy before I show you some of my favorite cards and some of the cards that popped up for me the most. So mermaid energy is water energy, so it's very free-flowing and it does tap into your emotions. The trouble that I had with connecting with mermaid energy is because through this deck, I just really felt like maybe they didn't want to work with me. I was really attracted to the artwork, and I am really attracted to mermaids and the sea in general, as you know, my love of octopi. But like I said, I just couldn't connect with this deck, and I wondered, why it was. It turns out that the mermaids, or my experience of mermaids and their energies, is they love offerings. Offer them something. Offer them your energy, offer them your time, but do a ritual. Like, I would highly recommend with this deck, I know Lucy Cavendish pretty much says in all of her guidebooks, like, bless and give an offering to this deck before you work with it. Well, I usually don't do that, but with this deck, I definitely recommend it. If you are like me and you've had trouble tapping into this deck's energies, or the way this deck approaches the mermaids and mermaid energy, then I definitely recommend doing a ritual. So the one that I did, I actually found in my Way of the Fairy Shaman book by Flavia Kate Peters, and it was kind of, but I sort of, as I do with most of them, I kind of, sort of not compromised, I sort of improvised and made it fit more towards what I wanted to say and how I wanted to connect with mermaids. So there was that. And when I did do the ritual, the chalice that I had, the cup of water, the salted water that I had to sort of send out energy into, it fell over and it drenched my bed. And I was standing there having to blow dry my bed, like, oh shit, like right in the middle of the ritual, the cup just fell over. And that was kind of funny, but in their way, I guess it was telling me that they are here, which was pretty cool. So since I did that, I've had a more immersive experience with this deck, I guess you could say, Although I still feel very, like, on the fence about this. I feel like maybe this deck isn't so good for personal readings. Maybe it's better for clients, and maybe it's better for people who are experiencing relationship difficulties, or they want to know things about the relationship, because this deck does have a lot of sort of that orientated messages on it. So I'll show you some of my favorite cards now. And I'll discuss, you know, some little offerings that you can do for the mermaids as well. So this is the first card I drew with this deck, which is quite a beautiful message. And it, you know, sort of portended to a lot of changes that were going on in my life at the time. So I tend to prefer her more digital artwork, I guess you could say. Selina Fenech's more digital artwork than her old school stuff. But that's just me. So basically the offerings and the way that you can connect with the mermaids in this deck is by working with crystals. So I have used my newer piece of ocean jasper and kyanite, but previous to that I was using my beautiful piece of rose quartz that I have, and the mermaids tend to really like those. I want to say more romantic energies and more sensual energies, I guess. So I wouldn't use any reds or, you know, strong like root chakra stones. They prefer the blues and the greens and stuff like that, just from my experience, but everyone's different and they may say something else to you. And shells as well. Like if you go to the ocean, if you live near the ocean and you walk along the sand and the beach, which I did, but probably not as often as I should have while working with this deck, I highly recommend you look for shells that the mermaids will leave you, and they are ones that you can place near the deck or connect with the energy of the sea with, because even though I live really close to the sea, when using this deck I didn't feel very connected to the ocean, which is really weird. Really, really weird. That's not saying that this deck didn't give me some really nice, accurate messages, but like I got this card quite often, and then I did actually connect with my guide. But I just have a feeling, I don't know, that maybe the energies in this deck for me maybe don't feel quite as potent as what I feel mermaid energy is. I feel like this deck is very soft and very gentle and very healing, and even though it does work with some shadow aspects of yourself or some unconscious aspects of yourself, it doesn't really do it enough, in my opinion. I feel like for the untamed primal energies of the ocean, the rivers, and the currents and the tides, I feel like maybe this deck is too pared back. Like they have some beautiful messages. Like I said, Soul Cage is a bit more to do with the shadow working stuff. This is connected with the Melusine legend, which I love. But yeah, all in all, this deck is really great if you need something gentle and a gentle way maybe to introduce you to working with the energies of the sea and mermaids. But for me, I don't know. I just feel like the mermaids, they would dwell on every level of the ocean floor, including the deep, dark, you know, unknown of the ocean that humans have still yet to discover. In fact, that's where I think they live, personally. Because if there are other creatures that can evolve to live down in the deep depths that we can't even reach, who's to say that mermaids aren't there too? So for me, mermaid and mermaid energy is a lot more primal and a lot darker and a lot more wild than what is represented in this deck, and I think that's probably the main reason why I have trouble connecting with this deck a little bit. So the cardstock is your standard Blue Angel cardstock, so it's pretty good. It is pretty reflective, and some of the cards did stick together when I first got them. All in all, this deck feels a bit bigger than the other decks that I have by Blue Angel. I've had a bit of a struggle shuffling this deck, but it's not too bad. So I did want to read you, I think there was a really nice little quote that Lucy put in here. Oh yeah, because it's by David Bowie. So at the beginning here it says, I wish I could swim like dolphins can swim. So that's by here, that's from the song Heroes by David Bowie. And she does have a quite good introduction. You know, she talks about the healing powers of the merfolk, how mermaids were mistrusted, some of their origins. She does go into a bit of background in different mermaids and from which cultures they come from. And basically, you know, mermaids were sort of demonized as being these hypersexual creatures, and of course, feminine sexuality for a very, very long time, and even now is something that's looked down upon or shunned or you called out as unnatural. And she says that this can maybe help you with that sort of side. I wouldn't really say sexuality. I guess I would say sensuality if you're having trouble with that, because I don't think this deck is raw or powerful enough to tap into that sexual primal energy of the kind of feminine side that got demonized, basically. I guess what people are calling like Lilith energy and stuff like that. I don't think that goes into it quite so far with this deck. But the messages are quite beautiful. So you've got the Mermaids sing, which is what Lucy Cavendish tends to do in a lot of her guidebooks. She has like a channeled message from the mermaids. For here she has reversals as well. And then she has the divination meaning, which I'm guessing is the upright meaning, or the how you can work with a card. I don't know. I really enjoy reading the Mermaids Sing or the channeled messages in most of Lucy's decks. But with this one, some of the keywords and stuff, they really just weren't hitting home for me with what I felt like maybe the message mean. Like maybe the images and the keywords weren't quite gelled together smoothly. That being said, I did work with this deck for over a month, so I feel like, you know, it has been there, and I have connected with it to a level, but I don't know if this one is going to be staying in my collection for the rest of my life type thing, you know? It's one of those decks where I'm like, I really like it, but I've used it now because I wanted to use it to get to know it, and will I ever go back and use it again? I'm not sure. So I'm sort of on the fence with this deck, really. So these were some of the messages that I got constantly, and I will tell you I'm a little bit annoyed with them because of the keyword issue that I was talking about before. Okay, but it's not with this card. This card was pretty accurate. Time and Tide is basically inviting you to work with mermaid energy. It's saying, do a specific ritual that will connect you with the mermaids so that they know you mean well and that you want to offer them your time and your energy, and it's like a two-way street. So this is that card. I guess you can see some of that disjointedness. It's like I don't really feel like she's calling me to work with her, you know? I mean, this little love heart and stuff is really cute, but I don't really get that sense of connection. Like, she's not even looking, like, in the image, she's not even looking out to the viewer or anything. So I'm kind of confused a little bit with that message. But once I did actually do my ritual, I didn't get this message anymore. But until I did that, I got it quite often. One of the other messages that I got, which pisses me off because I don't like this image, guys. Yearning. And you know why? It's because his face looks like candle wax. Oh my god, do you see that? It's like his face just melted off. I don't know what the hell was going on there. That just looks like someone used the blur tool in Photoshop and just ruined this image. And the message there is longing for someone, undesired separation, and pining. And you see how much of a relationshipy message that is? And I'm just like, I was so not in any of that frame of mind whenever I pulled this card. And so I would always try and figure out, okay, maybe I'm yearning for something else. Like, if it was just the keyword yearning, without necessarily directing that towards a personal attachment, I would be fine. But because it was directing it towards a personal attachment, I couldn't really connect with the messages in this card. Because the guidebook also connects it towards, like, a personal attachment to someone. You know, not to something, not to a situation, it's to someone. And that's really narrow, and I don't really like that when I look at interpretations and stuff. The other one that I got, which I really loved, so I really like the message and I love the card in this because I feel like it's captured pretty beautifully, is Adrift. And this is all about going with the flow and surrendering to nothingness, and it's sort of an experience of just being in the moment, just letting the universe take you and having this sort of sense of trust within yourself. And I really enjoyed this message. So those were kind of the cards that I got pretty often. So I've gone through my favorite cards. I'm going to go through Some cards, again, that weren't really my favorite, and that kind of irritated me. I'll have to find them because of that whole weird disjoint between the sort of the message on the card and the actual image itself. And this one also seems really misplaced, but I'll get into that in a second. I really wanted to love this deck and connect with it immediately, and when I didn't, I was kind of like, oh dear. You know, and it was a bit of a disappointment for me, really, because normally I get along quite well with Lucy Cavendish decks. Sorry about that noise. So I'll just show you. Okay, time out. Here we have, I really like this image. I like the message time out, but then the keywords are awareness, contemplation, solitude, time alone. And she's like a Viking, redheaded Viking. Like, I don't know, this just doesn't speak to me about being alone or having a time for contemplation. I don't know. This one is one of the ones that doesn't quite hit the mark. Then I pulled this card, and I was just like, okay, this totally doesn't fit with the rest of the deck. What the hell? And it's the magic of... Okay, I'm going to totally butcher this name because I don't know how to pronounce anything in Welsh. Coelin Druth? I don't know how to pronounce it. Caution, secrecy, and wary, okay, are the keywords for this card. When you look that up in the guidebook, the message is, be yourself, color your hair a different color. Now is the time to change your outward appearance to fit in or call in those people that are more akin to you and are kindred spirits to you. And she talks about the Merrow legend of the Merrow Mermaids. This card does not represent that freaking message at all whatsoever. So I've pulled this card maybe twice, and every time I got it, I was like, what the hell does that even mean? It was one of those cards that you just have to go straight to the guidebook because your intuition just stops dead. And I hate when that happens because I'm an intuitive reader, and so I will try and read it intuitively, but this disjointed message really wasn't doing it for me. Endurance, I just don't like this because it's totally different to the other cards. You can even see the watercolor texture in the scan that they reprinted on the card, which I think is just not very professional. Sisterhood is annoying because they don't actually look like sisters or like they're connected. I don't know, they seem really bitchy. They look like the mean girls of the sisterhood. I don't really like that. That's not a comforting image for me. And this one I showed you guys, Imrama, I just don't like the artwork. I like the message. I like the message of Imrama, and I like the meaning of Imrama. And this dolphin is pretty jacked up. Like, okay. That's the other thing. Mermaids and their association with dolphins. I understand it. I get where it's coming from. I understand that there are legends, etc. But in that Flavia Kate Peters Way of the Fairy Shaman, she has a guided meditation in there that has to do with mermaids. So I'm going to go off topic a little bit because I have finished talking about this deck. And she says, imagine your long flowing hair running behind you, and then you find your secret best friend, you know, your dolphin friend. And I'm like, fuck off. I don't want a dolphin friend. Give me a giant squid friend, a colossal squid friend, or a giant Pacific octopus friend. I don't fucking want a dolphin, okay? And the other thing with the long flowing hair bullshit, it's like, I got nothing against people that have long hair, but I've never been able to grow my hair past my shoulders, and that's fine with me. I don't care. I like my hair short. I think it suits me. And she was like, oh, you know, men have told women to grow their hair long, and we've lost the power in having our long hair. Having long hair is magical. I'm like, it's not fucking magical. It's just high maintenance. Like, why can't I be magical and picture myself as a mermaid having short hair? Why do I have to have long flowing hair? So that irritated me with the guided meditation. And then I got to the part with the fucking dolphin friend, and I was like, well, you killed it for me, mate. Look, honestly, you don't hear that much about dolphins where I'm from in Australia. We hear sharks on the news. People like to obsess it over sharks anyway. And I love them, and I send all my healing out to sharks because we have absolutely devastated the shark population. Um, and, you know, for me it's sharks, it's like blue-ringed octopi, it's lionfish, it's box jellyfish, it's, you know, blue bottles. Man, like, we have all the things that can kill you in the sea and on the land here in Australia. And you can't just happy, happy, joy, joy with the dolphins. I'm sorry, that's just not how it goes. Like, that's not part of my environment. And that's why I didn't really connect with that meditation, and why I don't really connect with mermaids seen as being the best friends of dolphins and blah, blah, blah. Also, dolphins are a bit creepy. Yeah, they're creepy. Just research it. They're into all sorts of weird shit. Like, they're intelligent, and it's very creepy. Yeah. Anyway, enough about me ranting on hating dolphins and loving sharks, because I do love sharks. I really do hope that you guys enjoyed this review. I know it was a bit of a rant and a bit of a thing. So this is the Oracle of the Mermaids. I would recommend this deck for people who want to connect with mermaid energies in the beginning and aren't quite sure how to go about that, because Lucy does give you a couple of ways in which you can do that. She also talks about, what does she call it? Shellomancy. So you're using shells to divine, and, you know, giving offerings at the beach when you go. So it's really, it has a nice environmental message to it, and it is also, a good deck for sort of relationships, if you're trying to heal a relationship with someone else, or you're doing it for a client, or you are kind of looking to get in touch with a sort of gentle sensuality within yourself, or for someone else, or whatever. I would recommend this deck. If you guys have this deck and you think it's like spot on mermaid energy, then that's awesome. Like, no, I'm not saying that it's not for some people. It's just for me and how I see mermaids, it's not really, you know, what I would see as mermaid energy in this deck. But I would recommend it for people new to working with mermaids who want to get in touch with the emotional, the sensual, and all that kind of stuff. This is a really good deck for that. I would probably also recommend it as an oracle deck for beginners if you're drawn to mermaid imagery, because it's just, you know, it's a Lucy Cavendish. Her guidebook is really thorough, and the messages on the cards for beginners I think are really straightforward. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review. I know I rambled on for a little bit, so thank you for sticking with me. I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!